In this video, I'll show you 8 tips for abstract renders.
Before we even create our blend file, let's talk about color. And a great tool for getting the perfect color scheme is Adobe Color Wheel. So if I go here, I'll just skip this. We have all these options here. I like complementary, and we can change these. So the idea is we can get these colors and they're the exact opposite of each other, which for whatever reason looks really good. And there are a bunch of other these triad, split complementary. This will make your renders look way better. Let's talk about geometry nodes. So when we're creating these scenes, for me anyway, when I first see these, the first thing I think is I should probably use geometry nodes some way to do this, right? But really what ends up happening is you get like a lot of duplicating and stuff, and there's really just not much point, at least with the nodes we have right now, because in reality you're not going to, use the same like kind of idea for these renders over and over and over again. There's just no point. And so we'll talk about ways to get quick variation later in the video. So rather than using geometry nodes, we can use default meshes, and this is really nice because we can quickly be like, okay, let's get another one, maybe do some editing here, whatever. This is just so fast. You can just quickly get the kind of geometry we want. There's really just not that much involved. And there we go, got another mesh. So our camera, normally in our scenes, if we go here, we're using the perspective camera type, but for these I like to switch to orthographic. And I can change this setting here. And what that does is it makes the geometry more the focal point of the render and the colors rather than the depth, if that makes sense. And it just looks super cool. So now let's talk about that variation in our scenes. And now press Shift D, gonna go like that. Now I'm just gonna press Shift R a bunch of times to repeat that action. Select one in the middle, turn on proportional editing, and go to random. Okay, I can just create some really quick variation in these. We can also use modifiers to add some interesting things. So I'll just add a plane right now, scale that up like that, edit mode and subdivide a few times. I'll go to modifiers, scroll down and get a wireframe modifier, okay? And I'll go back to edit mode, press W to go to the circle select. You can use others. We'll go to face select, delete some of those, maybe delete some along the outside. I'll select some. We'll press P, selection, and now I think I'll move these down, and this can be used to quickly get some interesting shapes. Another modifier we could potentially use, I can go here and select remesh, and I'll go to blocks, and again this can just be used to create some interesting geometric shapes. So now let's start adding our materials. So first let's add our lighting. For this I'll get my core object here, simple icosphere. I think I'll get like an object like that, extrude along normals. I'll go to shading, new, press Z, go to rendered view, and I'll go to emission. I'll go back to Chrome, this one, because why not? Go to hex, there. Now I'm gonna select the one around it, because remember I created 2 layers. I'll go to new, change this to glass, put that on the surface. I'm gonna add some bump to this, and I think I'll change this to Chevy Chev, however you pronounce that. So we need to add some more lighting. How are we gonna do that? I think I'm gonna use these grids here and make them emissive. I'll grab this value here. Okay, it's still not that bright, and this is the biggest issue I have with making these. How do I get the light in? So if I go here, I applied my modifier, and if you haven't done that, go ahead and do that. I'll press tab, and I'll just select some of these faces, and I'll extrude along normals. New. Okay, I'll assign that one to there. Assign that one to there. Shading nodes. Firstly, this one. I'll make this emissive, and I'll get another purple. We'll get that one. Paste that in there. Make that bright. 10. For the other one, we'll just do something simple and bring up metallic. And now, let me just try and get all these cubes. Do Command J to join them. Make this a little simpler. Click New. Bring up metallic. Let's try that. So you might have noticed that this looks kind of flat here, and that's because of the denoising. And while in many scenes it's a good idea to have some denoising, but in this case I'm just going to turn off denoising. I'll go to rendering, select my second slot by pressing 2, render image, and personally I just like the noise.